yet again, the argument over the appropriateness or not of continuing greyhound racing in Ireland has cropped up, and it's in the context of the move in Wales, which has moved now to get rid of greyhound racing there in the very, very near future. And according to Greyhound Racing Ireland, the government should listen to the people and ban greyhound racing. Now, Welsh leaders apparently are working to end the practice there following a government consultation period and a petition which apparently attracted over 35,000 signatures. Nuala Donlon, spokesperson for Greyhound Action Ireland, is on the line. We've talked about this many, many times down the years, Nuala. You believe we're at the point of no return. We should ban greyhound racing.
It's not even a question of banning greyhound racing, because greyhound racing only continues to exist in Ireland because it receives around 20 million euros from the public purse every year. So really what we want is an end to the public funding of greyhound racing. And, you know, it wouldn't last 2 years if public funding were removed. And we want that funding to be phased out over a period of years to make provision for people who, you know, there's a small number of people involved in greyhound racing whose sole livelihood is based on greyhound racing. It's a very small number.
So it wouldn't damage the economy in any way, you feel, as those in the industry believe so? Greyhound
racing hasn't returned a dividend to the economy in over a quarter of a century. You know, its pre-tax profit in 2023 was less than €250,000. It depends entirely. Now, they publish every couple of years, they get Jim Power Economics to publish a report, you know, talking about the economic value of the industry to Ireland. We got an analysis done by Preferred Results Company of the last Jim Power report, which was published in 2021, and we found that was grossly exaggerated. He talked about he talked about 11,000 jobs, and he attributed 11,000 jobs in Ireland to the greyhound industry. He includes in this, you know, people working in pet food shops who sell pet dog food to greyhound owners, and he attributes that job to the greyhound industry and gives them an income of 25,000. I mean, this is the sort of ludicrous stuff that's in that report. And actually that analysis found that the economic value was exaggerated by a whopping 238%, and we sent that analysis to the then Public Accounts Committee, and they took what was in that report seriously enough to write to the Greyhound Board and ask them to come before the Public Accounts Committee to answer the questions that were raised in that report, and they refused to turn up.
Okay.
So,
leaving the economics out of it, it's not your obviously main reason for calling for an end to greyhound racing, as we well know. You still insist it is a cruel sport. You probably don't even refer to it as a sport.
Absolutely. I mean, can you refer to it as a sport? You know, the Irish public were outraged in 2019 when the RT Investigates Running for Their Lives programme showed that there were thousands of dogs being killed every year because they couldn't run fast enough. We were then reassured by the Greyhound Board that they were putting in place a traceability system, which would show us that this, in fact, wasn't happening at all, that this was an exaggeration. Their traceability system is proving exactly what that report found. Thousands of dogs are still dying or disappearing every year in this country. We have been, the first year that was in operation was 2021, and we have been tracking that cohort of dogs born in this country in that year. Of the dogs born in that year who remain in Ireland, at the moment, 46% of them are dead, or they're unaccounted for. They've disappeared. You know, that's a huge number of dogs. That's well over. That's almost 3,500 dogs, and the oldest of those dogs would just have turned 4, and that's just 1 year's dogs.
Okay.
If you know what I'm saying.
Well, I was listening to one of one of those involved in the greyhound industry on a national newspaper or a national radio station this morning, and they say that the welfare and safety of dogs at their various meetings is uppermost and always has been. Welfare is top priority. They have the safest tracks possible. The dogs are seated to race in a fair and humane way. They have track vets. They're all looked after. Do you accept all that they do as much as they can?
Well, if this is the best they are able to do, and if this is their optimum effort in terms of welfare, we can see in 2024 202 dogs died as a result of being injured on tracks around this country. That's up over 50% on the previous year. We can see that, hundreds more were injured on the track. And it's not the track injury. I mean, they are horrendous. Broken legs, broken elbows, fractured hocks. The injuries are they're horrendous. It's what's happening to all the dogs who are no longer able to run fast enough or who never run fast enough in the first place. And, as greyhound racing is banned around the world, and Wales is the first UK country, we expect it will be banned quite soon in Scotland. Now, the British greyhound racing industry provides a huge safety valve for unwanted dogs in this country. 85% of the dogs raced in the UK are exported from this country. Some years that exceeds 6,000 dogs a year. If that safety valve is removed, or if it's reduced or diminished in any way, then the problem of unwanted greyhounds is going to get even worse in this country. We're going to be looking at more dogs being killed in this country.
But are we not? Is it not more important to tackle the issues of, when you talk about animal cruelty, is to tackle the issues in relation to dogs of puppy breeding, abandoned dogs? Should we not be focusing our attention there more so than?
Well, there are lots of campaigns going on. The point about puppy breeding is the state isn't subventing it. The state is not subsidising it. Yes, there's horrendous cruelty going on to all sorts of animals all over the country, and lots of groups are fighting that. What we are fighting in Greyhound Action Ireland is the state funding of what is essentially the overbreeding and killing of thousands of dogs every year. That would not be acceptable were any other breed of dog being subjected to that. If that were Labradors or Poodles or Labradoodles, that would not be acceptable. Greyhounds are the same as every other breed of dog, although in this country, official Ireland likes to refer to them as agricultural animals, so that they can do whatever they want.
As you know, Nuala, there is a culture and tradition aspect to this, and it was only a matter of time before some of our listeners are reminded of it. This listener is saying, would you leave our traditional sports alone? These dogs are bred to race. If you don't like coursing or greyhound racing, then don't go. Go back to your cement cities and leave rural Ireland alone. People like Nuala are talking rubbish. How do you respond to people who say that?
Well, that person might be going greyhound racing, but they're one of the very few people in the country who are going greyhound racing. In 2023, tracks were 70 to 91% empty. I had sight yesterday of the attendance at greyhound tracks around the country last year, 2024. Youghal Greyhound Track had a sum total of 2 people attend for the entire year, and they got in on old age pensioner passes. I mean, that's the level of public interest and support that exists for greyhound racing in Ireland. I don't think even the Greyhound Board any longer puts forward this argument that it's a significant cultural activity and it needs to be supported by the government. They don't. It exists to provide product for betting companies, increasingly for betting companies, online betting companies based outside Ireland, based in the UK primarily. Is that what the Irish taxpayer wants its money spent on? Creating betting product? And, then we'll have reports coming out telling us about the huge problems that are existing with betting and addiction to betting and so on. And the government will come out and wring its hands for a day or two. And the next day they will hand over 20 million euro to an activity that exists purely to create betting product, because that's all it exists for.
All right, okay. Nuala, thanks for coming on us this morning. Nuala Donlon, their spokesperson with Greyhound Action Ireland. Do you agree with Nuala and her comments? Is it the beginning of the end, or should it be the beginning of the end for greyhound racing in Ireland? This person says, any greyhound racing involving live bait should be outlawed, and the same should apply to hunting with horses. There are other ways of hunting with horses, as is carried out throughout the UK.